everybody, and welcome to Between the Sheets. I am your co-host, Mutia Vision.
What's up? I'm your boy, D Division.
And we are so happy that you are tuning in. This week, before I even get to this week, I just want to share that I have been creating universes and producing future leaders with this man for the last 26 years. And we are the parents of 5 girls and 3 boys, y'all. And we have extensive research, hands-on experience in dealing with children and how that relates in our relationship. And I have to tell you that over our decades of raising children together, I've actually learned a lot about, every child is different, right? So no one thing works the same on everybody, but I've actually learned a lot from observing and nurturing our seed.
Or as I like to refer to them as sons.
Sons, S-U-N-S, that's right. Go ahead, explain that.
No, they're, the sun being that star that sustains life on this third stone from itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's it really. They're the ripple from that. We are all made of star stuff. We all originate in this physical form from the star called the sun. And
very important to remember, especially especially if you ever feel small or insignificant, to know that you are, in essence, the essence of the universe, and the essence of the universe lives in you.
Absolutely. And when you realize that that is the foundation of your physical and this planetary existence,
mm-hmm.
and you realize that this earth could fit inside the sun 1 million times, then you understand the gravity of your existence. At least I would hope that you should. I think what you were alluding to was that we try to inspire that type of consciousness in our sons.
Yes.
Which happen to be male and female.
That's right.
But not S-O-N-S, but S-U-N apostrophe S. Son, or
you got it.
S-U-N-S.
S-U-N-S.
Sons.
And so this week, we want to talk about, there's something that happened this week, so I want to share that. I personally, I grew up in a family with my mom and my sister, and my mom did not believe in hitting us, okay? She didn't believe in hitting us, okay? And she allowed us the freedom to speak our minds and to share what was on our mind, regardless of what it was. It didn't matter if it contradicted what her teachings or her beliefs or whatever. She wanted us to be able to feel free to communicate with her openly, like you would with a friend, but with that added support and guidance and wisdom that hopefully comes from speaking with a parent, And so that's how she raised me, and that's what I wanted to do. The only thing is, when she did it, it was definitely clear that you could say anything as long as you spoke to her with respect. That was the criteria, right?
Always got to be in check.
Always had to be in check. And I didn't always...
At least.
Right.
At least.
And in my attempts at motherhood, I didn't always maintain that governor. I wanted my children to speak openly, and I gave them a lot more leeway than I should have, because when that direction of tone or whatever changed, I needed to reel that in. But listen, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm getting better every day, because I want to get better at being a mom, a wife, a human being, everything. But we just came back from vacation, and during vacation there was this incident where I said our family doesn't fight fair. I was talking about this particular, you're going to hear it in a second.
I don't think you should take that broad brush to the whole family. I mean, there's some
of us,
and then again,
at different moments.
And then again, one being fair, or being open-minded will understand that one who is engaged in trying to manifest reasoning from the engine that they are operating, the reasoning apparatus from, is trying to make a point. Sometimes that point can be such in desperation that they resort to desperate measures. And
yeah, there's a lot of desperate measure resorting in our family when they feel pushed to the edge or they're boxed in, and it manifests in every single member of this family at different times. But that doesn't take away from the positive and goodness in each and every member of our being soul. So it's just another little fun fact. So I'm sitting at the breakfast table at a restaurant with my 13-year-old Messiah, my 10-year-old Titan, and my 7-year-old Tsunami. And we're having this conversation, and Titan got upset with me. So he said, "That's why you look like you're 70 years old." I was like, "Oh yeah?" I said, "Well, that's why it looks like you were," and I couldn't think of the word, and Messiah whispers into my ear, "adopted." He gave me this, so I said, "That's why you were adopted." And he took a moment, and he bounced that thing back to me like he was at my same level without skipping a beat, and he said, "That's why you're an embarrassment to your family, because you have one hand." And I was just like, whoa.
Now keep in mind, we're laughing. Now we're laughing in reflection, but at the moment of detonation, we had to figure on a nuclear level how this 10-year-old who had this loving person who invested so much of their life energy for this person to sustain theirs, even though he's 10, he knew what he was engaged in, and he went for the death blow. He went for the death con. And we want to
immediately, wait a second. So immediately, my 13-year-old hits him on his back and says, "What's the matter with you? You don't say that to Mom." And my 7-year-old says, "Titan, I don't think you were supposed to say that." So everyone kind of...
Which is good, because by the time the first question that came out of my mouth was, did anyone else remain silent? Did everybody remain silent? Or, which to me, if you remain silent, you're just as complicit in the person who released the event, released the detonation for it to ripple the way that it did. Right. If they didn't say anything, if you call yourself a friend and you see another friend behaving like a jackass, and you can't tell that friend, hey, what the blank are you doing? Are you there? Are you awake? Knock, knock on the forehead. Are you awake? Do you realize what you're... Then if you can't do that to your friend, you're not a friend.
So anyway, the first thing that came to my mind...
Ripple, universal.
Was...
So I had
wait a second. We have...
One moment, Mom, please. One moment. So I had to find out, and to my great discovery, everyone registered improperly.
So I immediately, there was this, I was hurt inside. I'm sure he was hurt inside by that comment about adoption.
Ooh.
I didn't have to use that, but like I said, sometimes our family doesn't fight fair. So I said we already addressed that, David.
How did you address it?
You addressed it earlier. You've already made a comment about that.
About?
The fact that sometimes our family doesn't fight fair. You've already addressed it.
Ma, listen to me. Listen to me, and I hope all of you will listen to me too. Initially, the emotional engine will kick into gear, and you're going to have a certain offensive view about what this 10-year-old said to this mother, who is like the kiddie park of all moms to a kid 10 years old. She's everything. But in retrospect, when you told him our 10-year-old that he was adopted, when you singled him out and you told him, you're different than the rest of the family. I'm labeling you, I'm categorizing you, and I'm doing it in such a way you know you don't rise up to the current bar that everybody else do. You were adopted. When you used it in that context, you introduced them into a constitutional war.
No, I totally get that, Dave. I got that.
Okay, good.
I didn't have an issue with that.
Good.
So I did explain to him that being adopted is something that's really special. I want to adopt children one day. No, listen, I can explain myself. I make my arguments and my cases to my children.
But it wasn't.
I know it wasn't
said
that way, but I just wanted him to know that being adopted is not a negative thing. That means that someone actually chose you. And they chose to open their hearts and their lives, and you became one and bonded with their family.
But it was not applicable to him. So that argument is moot. And he's 10 years old. And he's brilliant enough to know, what is she pulling here?
Right. So when he said that about me being an embarrassment because I only have one hand, then I immediately, there's so many things that go through your mind. Like, I was like, you're grounded? No. I was like, I asked him, I said, is that how you really feel about me? Like, do you feel like me having one hand embarrasses you? And he said no. And he says, no, that doesn't bother me at all. So I said, why would you say that? Then why would you say that particular thing? And he explained some things, and we talked about it, right? And in the end, he said to me, at the end of our lengthy family conversation, because it was the four of us at the table, he apologized to me. And I said, well, why are you, what are you apologizing for? He said he apologizes because he was being mean. I said, okay. And why would you apologize for that? And he said, because he hurt my feelings. And I said, okay. And why would you apologize for that? And he said, because you're a good mom and I love you and you don't deserve that. And that it came full circle, to me, the depth of the character of the child
so glad
we have raised. And I also apologize to him for saying that he was adopted, because I do understand. And just because you're the parent doesn't give you the right to be wrong and strong. There's acknowledgments to be had on both sides.
So glad you worked out that mathematics to the 360 degree of understanding.
Mm-hmm. But what happened was, I shared this in a post on social media, and it was really interesting. And I shared it because communication is really important. I know that there are a lot of challenges that are going on with families, between parents and children and children, all around. And so I felt like this was a good opportunity to open up just a dialogue on what is appropriate, like what would you recommend, how would you have handled it? And we got like a lot of interesting responses from that. Some people's responses were,
Well, you did, but oh yeah, we did.
I'm saying on my post.
Yeah, right.
I always sometimes say we, but just because we are a we unit for so long.
Yeah, I don't dwell on Facebook so much. But.
Right. So in any case, some people were like, first of all, if I said that to my mom, she just would have slapped me. He deserves to be slapped. You should have slapped him right in the face.
Do you want to hear what my father would have done? My father had forearms like about this big, and he was built like iron. Mm. And when he looked at you hard, it hurt. Mm. So the fact that, well, I don't have to go into that because I love Pop. He was living within a dimension and an age, time, and space dimension where you could take a cord, you could take a 2x4, you could take a saw, you might even take the flat part of a knife to knock your kid in the head. There was a lot of different, whatever you could grab, whatever you could throw, however close you were, that was the method of engagement. You were supposed to always understand the nature of the lane as a child you were traveling on, and you were never supposed to veer into the lane of an adult.
And actually, in reflection, I actually veered into the lane of the child.
Ooh!
And so it's just so important as an adult.
Give me.
As a human being,
that take a lot
to
to
be
acknowledge
able
that.
to reflect
Ooh.
and to be able to realize what contributions you had toward outcomes that you might be experiencing or receiving. So that's always a constant process. So I really have to thank my children also for being patient with me as I am learning
Me too.
to be better.
More to me than you.
Better at communicating with them. And I just think it's a beautiful relationship that we're all able to, push the boundary, reflect on it, talk it out, hash it out, make it work, pull back, make the adjustments. And I think that as parents, I think that it would be helpful for more parents to take that kind of position on, because I feel like overall, for the most part from what I'm seeing, a lot of parents come from the perspective of, I made you, there's nothing you can tell me, there's nothing you could teach me, I am the head, you are the follower, so get in line and follow, don't do as I do as I say, all this kind of rigid stuff that really doesn't help to create that aids more in a child, or ruling by an iron fist, that helps a child be more in fear of. But just because someone fears you and they're respectful to you because they're afraid that they're going to get beat if they say the wrong thing, that fear also inspires a lack of confidence in a child. It inspires a lack of trust in a child. It inspires so many other destructive things that don't empower that child to grow up and develop grit and develop awareness and practice those muscles that they will need to master, to push through and succeed and propel and excel and thrive in this world that we're going to unleash them to. Where you raise a kid based on fear, and that kid's not going to be out there in the world, taking risks and chances. They may turn into a bully and project that, and then become that bully that's out there doing the same thing, on a different level.
There's a lot of bump and grind potholes on the road of understanding. And sometimes you can get to a point where one or two driving vehicles on that road can get flat tires and can't go any further towards their destination. I think one of the things that you just brought out is so essential, because if you do resort to violence, you actually are a bully. You're living the profile of a bully. You're living if I could understand that sometimes you got that child who just doesn't understand the language of reasoning. I've been there. I could understand they don't understand the language of sometimes even love, or they don't want to perceive it, or they don't want to face it, or they don't want to acknowledge it, or they want to go around it, or they just doesn't want to deal with it because to them it's too icky. But
I don't want to be touched. I don't want to be
But the bottom line is, you as the sun, their
universe,
it begins with you.
the ripple.
That's where they see it. They see it firsthand here on the ground. And so...
And in your house, that's the practice ground. That is the practice ground where everything is nurtured. And if you ignore behaviors that are unhealthy, then that's being nurtured too. Because kids see that You're ignoring it. It's not important to you. They can do what they want to do. They're going to do that because they're children. And so I just love the fact, go ahead.
I don't want to be a phony and say something that I can't walk or something I can't breathe or radiate or represent, and people know that's how I live. I did tell my children that if you were ever in a situation and you saw one of your siblings doing something that potentially threatened their life and you told them to stop and they would keep moving in that direction, you have every right to take any 2x4, anything you can get your hand, and knock them in the head so they can't keep moving. And if I found out that you didn't do that, and I found out that you didn't step in to stop them by any means necessary, so that you wouldn't have to see them in a coffin asking yourself, why didn't you stop them? You can finish the rest of that.
Well, the other side to that is
you
cannot save people who don't want to be saved. So,
just saying.
Even in our own family,
Keep it real.
just in family, extended family, whatever, I know members there who don't want to be saved, and they're quite content on their journey of destruction, self-destruction. And
well, you make sure you don't let that happen on your watch, that you could have intervened.
Oh, you intervene, you plant the seeds. I'm not saying don't do anything. Don't say they're a lost cause.
Because once again, it establishes that same principle. Remember when we were just saying, if you have a so-called friend and the friend knows you're doing something you ain't got no business doing, and that friend can't say, what are you doing? Why aren't you, like shake you into your senses? That ain't a friend. Well, that ain't a friend. You shouldn't be talking this way. You shouldn't be acting this way. That's right.
You should consider.
That's right.
Try considering this.
That's right. You
definitely interject what you can.
Like, what do you think?
Your light where you can to help people. And as parents, I don't ever feel like I have a choice in that. I don't care how much my child may hate me in the moment. I don't care how much, whatever the pushback.
You never get the license to opt out. You don't get the
license to opt out, And so I am always, and we are always plugging away, trying new things. If this isn't working, we try something new to reach them. If that isn't working, we double team, and then we do some research here, and we just... As long as I'm alive, then I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be their biggest advocate, their biggest constructive criticism person, their biggest guidance person, their biggest everything. Anything and everything in my power, by any means necessary, as you say, to make sure that they not only get out there and can handle the world, but they can handle it handily. They can thrive in that world. They can get to any destination because we have empowered them not just by telling them this is how you do it. We gave them a platform where they were allowed to fall and get up and figure it out for themselves, and when they needed a little bit of guidance, we throw that into arena, they work it in, they go in again, and they develop that muscle, and then they can, and now one day, and they're already flying, but one day they will be prepared to soar. And that's what I'm passionate about this. I love children. That's what every parent, teacher, anybody who is in a position to love and inspire and empower children should be about.
But with regard to Titan,
I love that boy.
It's also was important for him to understand that the nuclei of this family, the cellular structure that keeps this engine going, is each and every member component to its total sum of parts. And so you should always know that even if someone gets onto that on-ramp, well, yeah, I look 70. He introduced that on-ramp. But as you said, you followed on to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah? Well, you're adopted, you little. Oh yeah? And as you ascended to the stairway of hell, things got out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's essential for him to always recognize and understand that this engine that we call the vision engine, we don't cut off any member off of that major engine, which is the family we call vision.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to inspire, engage, infuse, enrich, empower every imaginable part and section that is part of the engine. Your job is not to be the kryptonite that will cripple that engine. Your job is to give that engine life. What are you bringing to the table? What are you giving? And once I explained and Mom explained the nature of his name, Titan. Titan. Not something insignificant. Not something that's the norm. Not something that's the usual routine. Not something that's not magnificent or normal or everyday or nothing beyond the magnificent can be expected.
Mm-hmm.
Your name is Titan. You're supposed to do big things. We named you that because that was the vision we knew you were coming here to bring.
That's what he was whispering from the other side before he even came out.
I spoke to you in your mother's belly, boy. I spoke to you. You communicated back to me. I heard what you were saying. You listened to me. You got to become familiar with my voice. You're here, and I see you doing big things, but this was not a big thing. This was a little thing infused by you to become bigger as a little thing.
Mm-hmm.
You made a little thing larger than it was ever designed to be. But you were not the only one, and we acknowledge. So this is a learning. This is a opportunity for all of us to get this together so we can recognize, so we don't have to travel down that highway again.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I don't want to be a hypocrite.
Word up.
I want to be. I am genuine and I am authentic, and I
got
share.
it.
And so
his name is Titan.
We were able to work through from a place of love.
Live your name, boy.
The only thing I want him to get, though,
told that to your
that
mother?
I feel like he doesn't have, is that, listen, we work on a lot of tools in our family that's going to help us be successful out in the world, right? You don't need to use all of those tools on. You should never be directing that to me.
Ooh.
You don't direct. You know what I'm saying? You don't direct it to the head. You don't cut the head off. Because what else?
Because I explained, this is the person who has made a conscious effort. Think about this, Titan.
Respect.
She consciously, from the time before your birth, was feeding you, was making an investment in you, was changing her lifestyle so she could eat right, so you could get the right nutrition.
Making sacrifices, preventing and keeping herself from doing things or activities she really wanted to do, but she wouldn't go there because maybe there was too much smoke in that park. Maybe maybe that cocktail she'd like to have after that dinner she wouldn't have because she acknowledges the effects of alcohol on unborn developing fetuses. Mm-hmm. Or even when you're nursing them.
Exactly.
When you're nursing it. We nursed them for 2 years.
So I went down the list. You know, the person you threw up on, the person you urinated on, the person you defecated on, the person who wiped your vomit the person who held you when you had 100 and something fever, the person who I went down the list. And as I'm going down the list, I noticed that, like, he seemed like he was going down low in the chair, like he was disappearing, like he was, because I was going down the list. I was determined, we going down this list, and because I need to understand, how did you obtain the license? And who gave you this registration? To be so emboldened and so open
and loose,
to be so ugly
to your mother.
And you're a titan. So when you talk about you manifesting something, remember the word titan. You remember the word meaning, its meaning. So you ramp this thing way beyond the realms of imagination, because you're so large in everything you do. And he got it. And he got it. But when I found out and I realized that he was submerging himself from a level that was eye level to, you still there? I had to program the trajectory of that conversation, because you see, you're the adult, so you understand what's going on. You should be conscious and cognizant of everything that you are letting off, because I was letting off events that was establishing ripples, and some of the ripples were having effects that I didn't want it to have. And some of those ripples were, it's always good to have a little shame in the mix. Never throw out the whole, brother was talking the other day, my man, and he was saying, that one of the artists, Kanye, should be, because he felt he betrayed so much. And I was like, well, bro, we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater just because it got a little pee in it. But getting back to the point, thank you so much.
No.
My wife has something she'd like to say.
No. I'm listening to you. We only have about 3 minutes left, so I was just saying, go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, the conversation was, there's many things that we're going to understand and see on the highway of life, and we're not going to like it. And there's going to be sometimes you stop at an intersection you had no business stopping. You should have gone right through. And there's going to be places you're going to find yourself that you really ought not to be. But the bottom line is, that may be the bad news. The good news is you don't have to stay there.
No.
The good news is you could learn from your mistakes and you don't have to continue them. That's the good news. The bad news is you're just delusional, thinking you can continue to do what you've been doing and you're going to get away with it and you're going to get different results. That's also known as insanity.
People think that it's a lot easier to beat your child into submission, to get them on the path that you want them to be on and make them the person you want them to be.
Yep.
It's a lot more challenging to actually listen to your child and to actually hear their point of view and their perspective, because it challenges things that you may believe in your perspective. It takes a lot more courage as a parent to be able to allow that platform to exist so that everybody can come together with greater understanding and more empowered, and everyone feeling like we're all human. We're all in this together.
You ain't alone.
Listen,
you didn't
we
come here
are
by
running
yourself.
out of time, so
Word.
We will
Good
connect
point.
with you next time.
Peace.
You can catch up with all of our other episodes
You should.
at soulvisionworks.podbean.com.
No doubt.
Until we meet again, stay
Definitely.
blessed and stay empowered.
All good. Peace.